I'm Keith Combs with Trophy Bass Guide Service. We're here today on Lake Amistad and we just got done filming. It's been a pretty good day. We caught a lot of fish. We're doing our summertime series. It's September 3rd, so the fish are they're still in a summertime pattern. Really haven't moved into a fall type pattern at all here on Amistad. The lake's in good shape. We fished a lot of grass today, and the grass lines are growing out to about 30 feet. So we got a real good population of small fish that are biting. We didn't catch too many big fish today. I think we caught one that may have been 5.5 pounds and some 3-pounders. But just, you know, the amount of fish that you can come out here and catch and the variety of different ways that you can fish right now are endless. You know, I think you could take a drop shot or a topwater and fish for fish that are schooling and catch, you know, 100 fish a day right now. So it'd be a great place to bring somebody out that's maybe not bass fished a lot. A good place to bring somebody, you know, maybe a son or grandson, get them out here and get them fishing. But we worked several different patterns today. The one we fished the most was a big Texas red worm. We threw a 12-inch worm most of the day. Probably caught 8 or 10 fish on it, and then that's how I've been catching most of my big fish on the lake. You know, the biggest one was at 5.5, and she came on that. So that's one pattern that's producing pretty well. Most of those fish were in that 25 to 40 foot range. We fished for some schooling fish today, and they can be caught a variety of different ways, but if you're out here and you're looking for those kind of fish, what they're going to be relating to mostly is your creek channels, specifically where a creek channel hits a big main lake point, or where it runs close to some shallow water offshore. So that's another pattern, and those fish, they're easy to find. You know, you'll see them hitting, or you'll see the seagulls diving in the water, and you can catch them that way. Another pattern that we didn't touch on too much today is a grass flipping bite, but that's going on too, and that's a good way to catch some quality fish. Maybe not catch that many fish, but to get out and flip the 25 to 35 foot deep hydrilla with a 1 ounce or 1.25 ounce jig, or some kind of creature bait or something like that is also a very effective method. And as we get into the fall here, you know, the days are getting shorter. The water temperature's already cooled off to about 78 degrees, where well, it's 78 to 83 degrees right now. But it's cooled off, you know, substantially, and those fish will start to move into the shoreline grass and duckweed and things like that, and you can start to catch them on a frog, spinnerbait, swim bait, things like that. It'll start to produce real well here in the next couple of weeks. But all in all, it was a good day. We had great weather, and we had a lot of fun out here. Oh man, first bite, missed him. First bite of the morning, not a big one though. Didn't expect that. Most of the fish that hit this worm have been pretty good sized fish, but that one's about the same size as the worm. Kind of what we're fishing here is there's a long point runs all the way out here to the river channel, and it kind of starts to taper off when it gets down to about 30 foot, and then it saddles up to about 22 foot. So it's got a little hump on the end of it, and it's got some grass, got some brush on it, and those fish will kind of move in and out of here. And it looks like a school of small ones with maybe what's here right now, but you know, anytime you get something like that on this lake where they got a long point that they can work the whole thing, and the end of it comes up like that on the hump, and there's quite a few points that are like that on Amistad. It's going to hold some summertime bass sometime during the day. little bit better fish. It's just exciting catching my Texas rig, especially with this big worm. I've caught so many big fish out here this year. When something hits it, especially when it's down there in 30, 35 foot, you just never know what it's going to be. It's going to be a 2-pounder, is it going to be a 10? You just never know. Let's get another one. About like that last fish. Yeah, he hit it one time, and then a couple seconds later it came back and took it. Might be a school of fish down there, who knows? I like that though. We made 2 casts, we caught 2 fish. Not real big ones yet, but caught almost a 9-pound fish here the other day, so our chances are pretty good, I'd say. Like that, we'll try that again. Well, that fish messed with it for a while. It's a big fish. That's a little better fish right there. The weird thing about it is that it bit probably a minute before it actually took the bait. Popped it once, and it came back, popped it again, and then it came back and took it. But and we're sitting in about 40 foot, and that's about how deep the fish was because it was almost parallel with the drop. She's not going to want to go down too easily, so in fact she can't go down. So we're going to take and we're going to bleed the air bladder. So she'll be in good shape to go. You see the air bubbles coming up there from her. Looks like it. Good to go. Well, they're down there deep. Fish is out there about 300 yards, it looks like. That's about 2 casts and two good fish on this place already. And that one ate it. That one's a lot healthier fish. He's bleeding a little bit. We're going to have to let him go right quick, but he's good and thick. I mean, it was no time. I threw it out there, got to the bottom, lifted up once, and it popped it. And, then I gave it a second for pressure, and that fish had already ate it. So, maybe that's a good sign. Maybe there's a lot of competition down there. I better retie my stalk. Alright, we've changed up locations. We've been kind of working a big worm pattern most of the morning, and we've moved up. We're a little east of the 277 bridge up in the San Pedro arm of the lake. And this is a known schooling area. I mean, basically what it is the main creek channel runs down through here, and where it bends in against, there's two flats here, where it bends in against these two flats and contacts with the bridge. You know, the fish in the summertime school here almost every day. Most of the fish in your schooling fish are going to range from 2 to 3 pounds. Some of these schoolers out here this year have been 4 or 5 pounders. So it makes for some pretty good midday action. You know, if the warm bite kind of slows down, you can come catch a lot of these fish. And you have a chance of catching a big one this year. You know, like I said, some of them are up to 5 pounds. So we'll see what happens. But they're definitely here. You can see there's a little boat working them and some birds and stuff working in here. They'll probably get going real good here. Seems like around 10 to noon is the best time to be on these fish. So we'll see what happens. Small today, real small. The school vary from day to day on how big they'll be. Like most of these that are in here today are 13, 14 inch fish. You know, occasional one will hit it, there'll be maybe 2.5 pounds or so. But the other day they were a big school of fish. There's a bunch of them here right now. Look at that. I've seen a couple pretty decent looking fish right then. Oh man, my spooks. Good night. I don't know how you get a bait through that without getting bit. Look at that out there. My goodness. This is kind of how it was the other day. Every once in a while you get a 3 or 4 pounder, but there was this many fish coming up everywhere. They sure don't like my spook though. Schooling fish are weird though. It is about, it seems like once you first get onto an area that's got a bunch of schooling fish in it, you'll catch a few, no matter what you're throwing. Top water, swim bait, whatever you want to use. And then it gets real tough, and then you got to start varying what you're doing, either the way you're fishing it or the bait you're using, till you find something they'll take. They're pretty frustrating to fish for. if you come and start on this place, you'd probably catch those fish. Maybe a few bigger ones in the mornings, real early. There's probably, I don't know. I mean, I can look at like 15 arches right now below us. They're loaded in here. One thing about it is even 2-pounders on 6-pound line feel like you got something. The striper, he bit off a little bit more than he could chew. He looks like he ate either a big shad or a catfish, or one of the two. But you can see it was more than he could get down. He's got it. Or actually, it looks like a little white bass. We'll see here, but it's killed him. He hasn't been dead for that long. But he's that's a shad. He's a giant shad, and he couldn't swallow it. It killed him. Shoot. He hasn't been dead for too long, man. You know, probably just ate it last night or early this morning. It didn't last. There's one. They're really going crazy over there. Some big fish coming up.